Hi guys, welcome to Tea and Takes with Simi. I hope your day and your week is going great. Today we'll be speaking about something that has been going on in our timelines. I don't really plan for this podcast to be to be where we speak so much about pop culture, but I think pop culture sometimes revolves around life. So today we will make an exception. Um, or we'll just use this as a parallel to speak on something else I've been wanting to talk about. So it's about Toke Makinwa. Some days ago, she released the news that she is pregnant and is having a baby girl. And the news was met with a lot of criticism, especially from Christians. And they kept saying, oh, the Bible speaks against this. So let's jump in. I think my first questions for the Christians is where in the Bible, what verse, what chapter in the Bible, is this found? I love to read my Bible a lot, not just, in church or when the pastor says, open your Bible to this. Just on my own, I try as much as possible to read, one full chapter of the Bible every day. And I've been doing that for a couple of years. So I would say I have read across different books. But maybe it's still possible that I haven't stumbled upon this verse and chapter where God expressly said, if you go and do IVF and try to get your baby that you desire and you can afford to care for and you want desperately and you don't do it through, even if you do it safe, I just want to know where in the Bible people heard that trying to have a baby on your own is a sin, man and woman, because I know that today it's the case of Toke, who is a woman, but I'm sure that there are men who probably also desire children and will try to get it through other means. So maybe adoption, maybe surrogacy. Either ways, there are men who can, even if it can literally be them telling a friend who is willing to be like, oh, would you like to have a baby for me? And they clinically get the whole thing done. So yeah, I want to know where people saw in the Bible. They need to show me the chapter, verse, book of the Bible, Old or New Testament, where they heard this their opinion that God said that we should not do this because that's what they've been touting. Anyways, I want us today to just delve into or briefly discuss what it is about when people go against the grain or do not fit into the box that we have created or do not fit into traditional expectations, what it is about it that makes people uncomfortable. And especially Christians, what it is that makes them always want to use the Bible as like an attack weapon. Even when the Bible didn't say it, they just say God doesn't like it. They become God's spokesperson. Um, I think that we live in a world where women are taking ownership of their choices and um they choose to live alone, they choose to have high paying jobs, they do not surround their lives by getting the approval of men, or they do not settle. you know in the former days, I think people had to either marry a man, whoever, anyhow, just because there were certain privileges that could not be afforded to women if they were not married, or society was built in a certain way where it was not viewed positively. Either ways, I think women having a career, having a lot of money and everything makes people uncomfortable, but they were still maybe holding it a little bit. Now, to add to the fact that a woman like that, who they thought, oh, you're not married, you have all this money, so men are gonna be intimidated by you. You have like staff, you have houses and all of that. They are sort of one hold. The only key they could be sort of condescend to is like, okay, you don't get to have motherhood if you desire it. I think the fact that she has then gotten that motherhood makes them uncomfortable, and that is why they are choosing to use Christianity to, as Yoruba would say, kewo. So they're using that as a tool to just criticize her, even if it's not true. Um, I think that the judgment is jarring and is a bit hypocritical, because I think people judge people because they think that they will never be in that shoes. I think that the way religion works in Nigeria here, I would say, or just religious people all over the world in general, is that religion makes us think that we're special. Religion always touts the faith, the declarations, positive declarations, whatever, and so it makes us feel like we're special, and something that happens to one person cannot happen to us. I think that that's the pedestal that we stand on that makes us give all of these criticisms and judgments. But the thing is, it could be you, it could be your sister, it could be your daughter, it could be anybody, and you're not special. Anything in life could happen. So, would you want to be spoken to or spoken about the way you are speaking about Toke in this case? So, I think that we need to think about that. Um, I think that Christianity in Nigeria holds marriage and family within a certain very tight framework, and you are judged always. So you are judged whether if you do not get into marriage quickly, if you get into early, if you have children, maybe one child alone, you're judged. If you have what they consider to be too little children, too many children, everything is always judged, and there's like a tight rope put on marriage. I don't know. As a single girl, I thought that it was only the single people that had the harsh light, but turns out it's everybody. Like I have a couple of married friends. I have had them recently, and then I keep finding out day to day that they also have very harsh judgments on what they think is right and the way to do it and all of that. So I think that seeing a woman who has strayed against the grain of what people think marriage and family should be has made people very, very uncomfortable. And that's where the judgment is coming from. But I want people to remember that the Bible is actually full of so many stories where God's grace showed up outside of human expectations and outside of what people in that day and time thought was right or wrong. Jesus himself was born in like circumstances that didn't fit societal norms or religious norms. Even today, if Jesus was born in today, people would criticize. Why? Mary was unmarried. Mary was very young. Mary and Joseph, I'm sure the people of those days would have been helping them count months. Like, oh, these people, they were not pure. Why did they give birth at this time? They have not gotten married. They are, Mary's pregnant. There would have been a lot of judgment. But Jesus choosing to come in that way depict something, and we could see that was how his life and his ministry went. He always did things that strayed against the norm. He was in fact he came to repeal to I wouldn't say repeal, but to sort of show us to use love more in the way we live instead of the law. He would often criticize the Pharisees for holding the law as a weapon instead of showing love. So, and I think that a lot of us as Christians have then become the Pharisees. We need to also be aware that God does not always fit things into the rules, and He showed us that in the case of Jesus Christ. And we have to remember too that Jesus sat with the sinners, the taxpayers, and He spoke heavily against self-righteousness and judgment. I think that the people who are actually using the Bible, they should have used something else but not the Bible. Because if you've actually read the Bible a lot, there are too many places in the Bible where God speaks against judgment. Because He knows that in that, like, I think that it's a humbling thing that God actually does, in my own opinion. If He sees that you speak too strongly and you are castigating someone about this area, trust me, give it a little bit of time. In fact, if you want God to not test you in something, don't castigate someone about it, because I have noticed it's a pattern. And I guess that's why that verse in the Bible says something like, judge not, for by what measure you judge shall thou be, something judge, something like that. Because it means that, I think that it means that circumstance will happen to you, and that measure you use to judge that other person, that's the measurement I will use to judge you. So let's just I think that judgment comes from a place of pride. It's a place of condescension, a feeling of, oh, I'm better than the other person. So I think we should lead with humility. We should remember that condescension is not of God. let's just be humble and show love and show compassion. Remember that behind all of the social media ness or whatever is a human being, that, and it could be us, it could be someone we care about deeply. Anytime. I would round it up by saying that I think that this circumstance has just revealed how uncomfortable we are with people making choices that do not, fit the template of life that we think people should go within. And I think that women, especially, we live under such intense scrutiny. I think that I would say this to women. Honestly, we live under a lot of scrutiny. If you don't marry, you're judged. If you marry early, you're judged. If you marry late, you're judged. If you marry and don't give birth quickly, you're judged. If you stay with a man who is cheating on you, you are judged. If you leave a man that is cheating on you, you're judged. If you stay with a man that's abusing you, you're judged. If you don't stay, you're judged. I think that if you if you have children in marriage, you're judged by the way you had the children, where the way in which you went through the pregnancy. Either ways, all this to say, people are gonna judge you regardless. So I think that you should do you in the privacy of your home and in your when you're the only one at home. Just do whatever is gonna give you peace of mind, make you happy, and have a clear conscience. Don't mind people and don't pay attention to them. A lot of people, um, they're just looking for, they like to, it makes them sort of feel a bit superior or feel a bit better about their lives when they condescend to people. So at the end of the day, they will get their Waterloo. All of this to say, let's move with grace, let's move with kindness. Um, let's remember that God is a God of love, so we shouldn't be using Him as a tool to bring someone down and to castigate someone. Yeah, I think that's my take on this. If you have enjoyed this, please follow me and look forward to my other podcasts and my other takes and the other tea I will be bringing your way. If you stay to the end, thank you very, very much. I'm very honored. Um, have a nice rest of the day and week. I love you, besties. Bye.